Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be talking about alignment in golf,
Okay.
and specifically, like picking out those specific landing areas.
Right.
So, not just aiming for the green in general.
Yeah, yeah.
So imagine you're on the course, you're ready to take a swing,
hmm
but before you do anything, what's the most crucial thing? Alignment.
It is. Yeah, it's the foundation of a good shot.
We're diving deep into this topic today, using alignment or aim.
Okay.
And I've got a golf pro here with me to break down the expert advice from the source.
Happy to be here.
It's interesting because our source makes this point, that you need specific targets for every single club.
Right.
Now, why is that so important? I mean, a lot of golfers probably don't even think about that.
Well, if you're just aiming for the green,
Yeah.
generally you're giving yourself huge margin for error.
Right.
But if you pick a specific spot, let's say the left edge of the green,
Yeah, okay.
then you're going to be way more focused,
Mm.
way more intentional.
Mm.
And that's going to translate to better shots.
Now, to help with that laser focus,
Yeah.
there's this thing called the railroad track drill.
Right.
Can you explain how that works?
Yeah. So you take two clubs
Okay.
and you lay one down right outside the ball
Mm-hmm.
and you point it directly at your target.
Okay.
That's your target line.
Gotcha.
The second club goes down parallel to that first one, right along your feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's your stance line.
So you've got two parallel lines now,
Right.
framing your shot,
Exactly like railroad tracks leading to your target.
leading right to the target.
Yeah.
That's a good visual.
It's a very simple but effective way to really see if you're aimed correctly.
And you know what I think is really interesting is that the source mentions that alignment issues are incredibly common,
Well, they are extremely common.
like across the board.
All levels. Yeah, you see it everywhere.
And it can be sneaky, right? Because you might think,
Yeah, you might feel like you're aligned properly,
yeah.
but your body's actually doing something different.
So what are some signs that your alignment might be off?
Well, one easy way to check is to just lay a club across your thighs
Okay.
while you're set up to the ball
Mm-hmm.
and see where it points.
Okay.
If it's pointing left or right of your target,
Yeah.
then that's a pretty good sign your
Yeah.
body alignment is off.
Interesting.
Another thing is if you're constantly missing your shots in one direction.
Right.
Like if you're always hitting the ball to the right, even though you feel like you're aiming straight,
Yeah, yeah.
chances are your alignment's a little skewed.
This reminds me of a story about this PGA Tour hopeful,
Okay.
super talented golfer,
Mhm.
went to Q school
Right.
and just could not figure out why he was hitting everything right.
Wow.
Like he was trying to hit fades, but they were going even further, right?
I've seen that happen.
It's so weird how your eyes can deceive you like that, right?
It really is. We get so focused on that target
Yeah.
that we kind of lose track of what our body's doing.
So this golfer, he goes for a lesson and the coach uses that railroad track method
Right.
to check his alignment.
Okay.
And it turned out he was aiming like a full 10 yards, right, of his target.
10 yards. That's a lot.
That's a lot. It's crazy how such a small misalignment
Mm-hmm.
can make such a huge difference.
Right. It can have a dramatic impact on your ball flight.
And what I thought was interesting, too, is this golfer said he had stopped using an intermediate target a few weeks before.
Oh, really?
And he thinks that contributed to the problem.
That makes sense. Those intermediate targets are really helpful,
Yeah.
especially in those longer shots.
Yeah.
It gives you a closer reference point to focus on,
Right.
which helps you align your body more accurately.
And that actually leads perfectly into what our source calls the setup chain.
Yes.
And it's essentially like a series of steps
Right.
to make sure you have a consistent, solid setup every time.
Every single time. Yeah, it's so crucial.
And what's fascinating is our source highlights the last 3 links in this chain as being super important.
The final 3.
Yeah.
So these were all about that fine-tuning right before you swing.
Yeah.
So link 14 is setting the club behind the ball quietly
Okay.
and then aligning the club face with your intermediate target.
So you're really zeroing in on that intermediate target at this point.
Exactly. Making sure your club face is square to your starting line.
Before you even think about your stance.
It's like setting your compass before you set sail.
I like that, yeah.
Then link 15 shifts your focus to the primary target,
Okay.
that final destination you're aiming for.
Okay.
And the key here is you maintain that focus on the primary target as you get into your stance.
Gotcha.
So you're using that target as an anchor to guide your whole setup.
So it's a smooth transition
Yeah.
from intermediate to primary
To keep
to
it-
that alignment the whole time.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're locked onto your target. You're in your stance.
Right.
What's link 16 about?
Link 16 is about feeling grounded and balanced in your stance.
Okay.
Still laser focused on that primary target.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking a quick glance at the ball to make sure you're in the right position.
It's like a mental checklist, making sure everything is in order.
Yeah, it's a final check to make sure you're ready to fire.
Before you even start the swing,
Right.
now what happens if one of those links is weak?
Well, that's where things can go wrong.
Right.
Because even if you have a great mental game, if your setup is flawed, the shot's doomed from the start.
So it doesn't matter if your swing is perfect.
It doesn't matter.
If your setup is off,
Right. It's like building a house on a shaky foundation.
it's all going to fall apart.
It's not going to last.
This is great stuff. So we've covered the importance of specific targets,
Right.
the railroad track drill,
Mm-hmm.
common alignment issues,
Yeah,
and even touched upon the setup chain.
absolutely.
That's next.
Well, next we're going to dive deeper into this setup chain.
Okay.
Explore how it can help you build a consistent routine and eliminate those pre-shot distractions.
Sounds like we're just getting started.
We are.
We'll be back right after this. So before the break, we were talking about that setup chain
Right.
and how even a small weakness in one of those links
Yeah.
can really throw off your whole shot.
It's true. One weak link can just mess up that whole sequence.
And our source talks a lot about how important it is to stick to a consistent routine,
Oh, yeah.
especially when it comes to those crucial final links in the setup chain.
Yeah, consistency is so important in golf, especially in those moments leading up to your swing.
Right.
It helps you develop that rhythm
Yeah.
and that predictability,
Okay.
which is essential for having a repeatable and effective swing.
Yeah. So let's unpack those final 3 links again.
Okay.
Starting with link 14.
All right. So link 14 is all about connecting with that intermediate target.
Okay.
You've already addressed the ball quietly.
Right.
Now you're aligning your club face with that intermediate target,
Gotcha.
making sure that club face is square to your intended starting line.
Okay. So it's like setting your compass before you head out on a journey.
Yeah, exactly. You got to know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move on to link 15, which
Okay.
is all about shifting your focus to the primary target,
All right.
that ultimate destination you're aiming for.
Okay.
And as you're getting into your stance, you want to keep your eyes locked on that primary target,
Okay.
using it as an anchor to guide your body alignment.
So it's like a smooth transition then.
Yes.
From that intermediate target to the primary target.
Right.
You're maintaining that sense of alignment throughout the whole process.
The whole time.
So
Absolutely.
you're locked onto your target. You're in your stance.
Okay.
What about link 16? What's that all about?
Link 16 is all about feeling grounded and balanced in your stance.
Okay.
Still laser focused on that primary target,
Mm-hmm.
but you're just taking a quick glance at the ball
Yeah.
just to make sure you're in the right position.
So it's like the final check
It is. Yeah.
to make sure everything is in order
Exactly. A final check before you fire.
before you pull the trigger.
Right.
Now, what's interesting about this setup chain is that it's customizable, right?
It is. You can tailor it to yourself.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So the specific actions you take within each link,
Okay.
you can kind of adjust them to fit your own preferences, your own
Yeah.
swing mechanics.
Yeah.
It's all about finding what works best for you.
No. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You got to experiment a bit.
Yeah.
Find your own rhythm and sequence.
But the key is to find it
Yeah. Once you find it, you stick with it.
and practice it.
Practice, practice, practice.
That's how you eliminate those distractions.
That's how you get consistent.
And build a solid foundation.
Exactly. It's like building a house. You got to have a strong foundation.
Otherwise, it all falls apart.
It's not going to stand the test of time.
So we've talked about how important specific targets are,
Right?
how the railroad track drill can help with alignment, and now this whole idea of the setup chain.
A crucial concept.
But how do we actually apply this concept to other areas of our lives, outside of golf?
That's an interesting question.
Because we talk about aiming for specific targets in golf.
Yeah.
But what if we took that same principle
Okay.
and applied it to our careers, our relationships, our personal
I
growth?
like that idea.
So instead of just going through the motions,
Right.
we're actually intentionally aiming for something.
We're being deliberate.
Yeah, and creating a roadmap for where we want to go.
It's about being proactive
Yeah,
instead of reactive.
taking control.
Exactly. Taking control of your own destiny.
And just like in golf, where those small adjustments to your alignment
Yeah.
can make a big difference.
Huge difference.
In life, those little daily choices
Mhm.
can really add up over time.
I can lead you down a different path than you intended.
It's like the butterfly effect, right?
Exactly. One small change can have a ripple effect.
So it's all about being mindful of our choices,
Being aware,
making sure they're actually aligned with our goals and aspirations.
that's the key.
So in a sense, we all have our own setup chain in life.
Interesting way to think about it.
Those habits and routines that shape our outcomes.
It makes you really stop and think.
So are they supporting us or are they holding us back?
That's the question.
This has been a great discussion.
It has.
We've covered so much.
We have.
From alignment in golf to how those concepts can apply to our lives in general.
Oh, it's all connected.
Before we move on to the last part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
any final thoughts for our listeners?
I would just say, be mindful of your alignment, both on and off the golf course.
Okay.
Pay attention to those habits, those routines, those choices you're making,
Yeah.
and make sure they're actually moving you towards your goals.
Great advice.
It's all about being intentional.
And remember, those small adjustments can make a big difference.
They really can.
So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back to wrap things up. All right, so we've been talking about this idea of a setup chain
Yeah.
in life and in golf.
It's fascinating.
If our listeners want to really build a strong setup routine for their golf game, where should they start?
Honestly, working with a qualified instructor is invaluable.
Yeah.
They can really help you analyze your swing.
Okay.
Pinpoint, those subtle alignment issues you might be missing.
Yeah.
And really help you create a customized plan for you.
So it's like having a personal trainer
Yeah,
for your golf swing.
exactly.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Oh yeah, ask all the questions.
The more you understand it, the better your practice is going to be.
The more effective it will be.
It's not just about mindlessly hitting balls.
No, it's about intention.
It's about having a purpose.
Absolutely.
Our source also mentions that, developing a good setup, that's not a one-time fix.
It's not a one and done.
It's an ongoing process.
It is, yeah.
Even the pros.
Even the best players in the world.
They're constantly working on it.
They're always refining their routines.
It's not about being perfect. It's about that continuous improvement.
It's about getting a little bit better each time.
Yeah.
That's the key.
And that goes for life too, right?
Absolutely.
It's not about being perfect. It's about
growing and evolving.
learning, growing, and evolving.
Exactly.
This has been such a great deep dive.
It has been.
We've explored so much.
Covered a lot of ground.
Alignment in golf, consistent setup routine,
Yeah.
and how these concepts can actually be applied to other areas of our lives.
It's amazing how it all connects.
Any final words of wisdom before we wrap things up?
Just be mindful of your alignment
Okay.
on and off the golf course. Pay attention to your habits, your routines, your choices.
Yeah,
Make sure they're supporting your goals and aspirations.
I love that.
It's about intentionality.
And remember, those small adjustments can make a big difference.
Absolutely they can.
A huge thank you to our expert for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.
We hope you learned a lot about alignment
Yeah, and got inspired.
to take your game to the next level.
And your life.
Keep practicing. Keep aiming for those targets and never stop exploring the amazing world of golf. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.